guys, how you doing? Welcome to another week of this A Drummer's Guide to. Today I wanted to talk about how I leverage really scary and awkward situations to help myself learn more and quickly. Basically, it's about throwing yourself in the deep end and seeing if you can swim. And the majority of the time I seem to have sort of being able to at least do doggy paddle until I can work out how to do some strokes. I'm doing that like I can do front crawl. I'm more one of those. I'm all about the breaststroke. Oh, actually, I'm more about the backstroke. I've actually always been very good at backstroke. Anyway, I digress. So I wanted to give you some examples of situations where I've been asked to do things that I have never done before. I didn't feel like I'm the kind of person that really likes to know exactly what I'm doing at all points, and that's not just in drumming and in music, in life. I'm just like that. I like to sort of have a plan. I like to sort of know roughly what I'm going to be doing. I like to know that I'm capable of doing that, but inevitably life happens. Things are out of your control constantly in life. Things are always changing, and I've been thrown into situations where I've sort of inside completely freaked out and just gone, I don't know how to do this. I don't have the capabilities. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, I'm gonna fall off like, crazy. But on the whole, mostly I've kind of stepped up and with the help of, very supportive, understanding, patient people around me, I've ended up learning like new skills, but my skill set has sort of gone from here to there in a matter of, I don't know, hours, days, whatever it is, which I otherwise probably wouldn't even pursued, because I probably shouldn't admit this, I don't care. I'm the kind of person that I get things done because I need to. I'm a person of necessity. I'm not the kind of person that, well, for instance, years back, I wouldn't have just sat down and gone, right, I'm just going to learn Ableton because I know that I should do that. In fact, I tried to do that once with Pro Tools years ago. Obviously, I know how to use it now because I've had to learn. But years ago, I was sitting with an MD and he was like, look, why don't you learn, I think you should learn Pro Tools. I think it would add to your repertoire. I think it would really help you. But the thing is, loved the idea, great idea, but if I don't have like an end goal, if it's a bit, not abstract, because it's not abstract, but if there isn't a reason, like an immediate reason that I need to be learning this thing, I find it very difficult to concentrate and sort of to hone in and to keep my attention focused properly. In fact, I've never thought about that, but I'm very much the same way in terms of practice. I always have been. It's kind of, I need an end result to focus on, but something that is outside of me. I'm not very good at just doing things for me. I'm great if I'm doing it for other people. Then I'm like laser focus, amazing. If there's a chance that I'm letting people down or that I'm going to fail, I'm like, what's someone like that has like, it's just laser focus. It's complete laser focus. And yeah, so I've kind of learnt this about myself. And although I've gotten myself in situations where I'm literally freaking out, like beyond that, I can't, like to the point of like, this is all gonna go wrong and fall apart, and it's just the way my brain works sometimes. But then actually stepping up and surprising myself and going, oh, okay, I'm a little bit more capable than I thought I was. I'm not saying it always happens, and I'll give you an example of when it didn't later on, but I'm going to start with the positive experiences first because I like that, and then we'll go to the one, but actually they ended up being positive in the end. I think it's just how you look at everything. So anyway, the earliest example that I can think of in terms of my drumming career was that every week my parents would take me and Charisse to blues jams every week. Either, it depends which one we were going to, but it was on a Tuesday or a Thursday night. We would head down to Tottenham or wherever it was that week, and getting up, playing blues with complete strangers. And now it's kind of like, but it's because I've just done it so much that I'm completely comfortable with it. But the first time doing that, terrifying, just absolutely, like just being completely out of control, having to rely on what very limited experience I had at the time. I mean, I was in blues jams. I mean, I started playing drums at 11 I was going to blues jams from 11, so it wasn't far from when I started playing. And bearing in mind, like I said, I mean, first of all, not sure how they managed to swing us being in there because we were so young. And I'm not talking about, we didn't look like an older sort of like, not that any 11-year-old really looks older, although these days kids are really freaking me out. But yeah, we looked young. We looked super young. So I'm not sure how they swung that. But anyway, but the people that we were playing with was sort of like in their 30s, 40s, 50s, up to their 70s. Like, it was madness. At the time, completely normal to us, but looking back, I just think, that probably looks a little bit odd. But anyway, yeah, so that was kind of that first experience of being thrown into the deep end, what I felt was the deep end of just like, you know, you don't know what you're about to play. All you knew was that someone, hopefully, was going to turn around and tell you what kind of song it was, whether it was like a rock blues, whether it was a shuffle, a train beat, a slow blues, 6/8, whatever, and then you had to go from there, and then you just had to listen and just go with it and watch the other musicians and kind of use your instincts. And of course, you know, that young, with that little experience, you know, there weren't many skills there to draw upon, but I mean, I was going to those blues jams probably till about 16, and over the years, obviously, your skills build up. So that was my first experience of sort of like being put in the deep end. And like I say, that very first blues jam was terrifying, but made it through. Nothing fell apart, nothing went horribly wrong. It wasn't like the most amazing thing in the world, but the point is that I started a song with the other musicians and I finished it with the other musicians, and that was like success. That was pure success. In fact, I'd still consider that success to this day. If I go to any sort of jam, it's like, did we all finish together? Great. Aces. So yeah, so that was kind of my first experience. And then later on, I mean, I've been thinking about this, like different examples. Later on, when I was playing a lot with bands in school and stuff like that, but it was all very insular. It was all very not Big Fish and Little Pond, but that sort of thing. Aside from these blues jams still, which is so random. But then I was like, okay, I need to get into a band outside of school, and I was 14, maybe. I can never. Yeah, in fact, I was 14 because it was just before my 15th birthday, and all I knew is that I wanted to get into a band. I didn't actually think about what kind of band I wanted to be in, so I just looked up random adverts on Loot, which was essentially the Gumtree of its time. It was online, so I think it was quite new online. And I sort of looked up and I found a few sort of ads of people wanting drummers in North London. And I found this one advert, and it said that there was another girl in the band. I thought, oh, that might be really fun. Like, you know, I don't think at that point I'd ever played with another female musician that wasn't a singer. So I was like, oh, that might be fun. And, you know, maybe that would be a nice ease into sort of this scary outside world with, you know, real people, not just people from school. So I was like, yeah, I did not even think or look at what their influences were. And at the time, it wasn't, you know, there was no Spotify, there was no Apple Music. To download something would take days, and it was highly illegal. So I didn't know any of their influences, and I had no reference, and, you know, I wasn't about to go out and buy an album or whatever. I think it was only like a couple of days before the actual audition anyway. So I just thought, just turn up, you know, very naive, but in hindsight, in quite a nice way. I think it was, yeah, I was just like, yeah, I'll just go and play and just see and, you know, and have fun. And so anyway, I turned up, and it turned out that it was like this really heavy metal band. I'd never played a lick of heavy metal in my life. And again, I was excited, but I was scared, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, I didn't realise it was this sort of thing. So I just, again, trusted my instincts and just went with what they were playing and just went for it. And by the end of the first song, oh, that was amazing, that was really cool, and, you know, should we do a different song? And I was like, yeah, cool, my thing is, yeah, I'll just jam along, like, you know, I'll just do what I think and we'll see. And by the end of that, they ended up saying, you know, we'd love for you to come and play with us, and I did, and I ended up doing a bunch of gigs with them, stayed with them for about a year. We used to rehearse weekly. Wonderful people. One of them is still a very, very close friend of mine. In fact, two of them are really. I just haven't seen the singer in like years. Well, in fact, three, because we had a manager. He was not a manager, he was a mate, but he's like one of my best friends as well. Yeah, so this was another example of just being thrown in at the deep end, and rather than going, sorry, I don't do that, and just turning around and leaving, I was like, oh no, okay, well, I'm gonna try. I'm just gonna try. And I ended up learning how to play double kick and stuff like that. Not that I do that anymore. My legs are so rusty when it comes to that sort of stuff, so don't ask me to start playing any blast beats. It's, you know, I haven't done that since I was maybe 17, something like that, so it's been a while. Yeah, so that was another situation where I was just like, okay, I just need to like go for this. Later on, when I played with Tricky, in fact, because I mentioned about the Ableton thing, so well, in fact I started saying about Ableton and then I moved on to Pro Tools, but okay, so Ableton. When I was with Tricky, there was a situation where I got given the opportunity to become the musical director. I don't think I was really, I just tried to be, but anyway, that's a whole nother thing. And there was a situation where there was a month period where I had to reprogram the whole of the set, all of his songs, and as he works, you kind of just have to know sort of a list of songs, maybe like, I think it was around about 40 songs, something like that you have to just know, and he calls them and you just have to go. So it had to be some sort of system, and I think, I mean, I have mentioned this in videos before, whether you've seen it or not, the way that he works is kind of like a live DJ. So what he'll do is, you'll start a song, play maybe a verse and a chorus, and then he starts pointing at people to start or stop their parts, because so he kind of like mixes it live. It's so interesting. I love it. It so works for my personality because it's proper edge of your seat, like you never know what's going to happen, and I really love it. So I needed that kind of flexibility, and at the time it was 2011. The only thing that was around that did any of that was Ableton. I'd never touched Ableton in my life. I just heard about it. I'd heard that this was the thing to use. And me and one of the techs got together for like, I don't remember how long it was. It must have been a week straight or something like that in a studio. And we just worked it out because we had this period of time between this last show and then like I knew that we had to do all this work in between, and then we had this show in Italy, and I was like, right, so that is the end point. There needs to be a show at the end of that point, and I think it was a month, but I'm not 100%. And we just blitzed it. We were just like, right, well, we've got to learn it, so we better learn it, as simple as. And had that not have happened, had that opportunity not presented itself, I wouldn't have done it. Secondly, more importantly, if I hadn't have gone, yes, it's kind of become my rule in, maybe not in life, but in life? No, not in life. I'm such a child sometimes. Okay, in music, if something scares me and makes me go, oh no, it makes me go, well then I have to do it. It's obviously going to be a challenge. If my initial reaction is fear, I should probably be doing it because it's something that's going to challenge me. So I had exactly that. My initial reaction was, and I was like, cool, okay, looks like I'm learning Ableton then. Anyway, so we did all this work, and I mean, it happened. The show happened. We worked out this system, which, I mean, looking back was very cumbersome, and I could probably do it in a much better way now, but it worked, and that was the point. And sort of learning that amount of information in what felt like a very condensed period of time with not minimal resources, but, you know, Ableton wasn't as well known as it is now, for instance. There wasn't as much discussion over how to do stuff, and some of the things you could do on it weren't as good as what it can do now is amazing. But it's great because that skill has sent me through like the last, where are we now? 7 years, and I've used it consistently throughout those 7 years for different things. But like I say, that one situation had to happen, and I had to embrace that, even though I was terrified. And talk about in at the deep end, I was panicking, for want of a better word that I'm not going to say because I'm not going to swear on these videos. Yeah, I was scared. I was definitely scared. But like I say, it all turned out all right. Another version of that was when I started playing with Bryan Ferry, which I've also spoken about. If you haven't heard about that, I got a phone call one night, and the deal was that the gig was the next day. Luckily, I'd kind of been learning songs quickly anyway, involving sort of charting and stuff, but this was really time sensitive. Right, well, this is your test. You think that you've been trying to chart stuff and learn stuff quickly? Here you go, you've got a few hours. Oh, and by the way, you're not going to sleep before you actually go and do this, so good luck with that. But I didn't go, oh no, sorry, that's not enough time. I went, yeah, I'll do it. Okay, cool. It's not about whether I'm going to do it, it's how I'm going to do it. That seems to be my general approach to stuff. It can get me in overwhelmed situations, but that's the other really cool thing, is that even if I'm overwhelmed but I have an end goal, at least I know that at some point I'm not going to feel that way. And whether that be because I just work and work and work until I'm comfortable with it, or the end date passes and it's like, well, that's over, cool, alright, we got through it. And like I say, very occasionally don't get through it, and very occasionally completely fall and fail and all of that. But at least you then go, well, it's done, so let's move on. So that's another sort of like quick example. I had another one when I was playing with Cher Lloyd. We were doing rehearsals for a UK tour back in 2012, which was really good fun. And the MD basically on the second to last day of rehearsals went, oh, by the way, so would you mind running track? And I was like, oh my God, like so previous to that, I'd been running Ableton with Tricky, but this was like HD24. So this was just a whole different system that I'd never used before. And, you know, you look at something, I mean, this was a physical bit of kit, I just looked at it and went, oh my God, what is that? Like, I don't even know what I'm looking at. But of course, on the outside, yeah, I'll be happy with that. I mean, you know, if you could just like, I was trying to skirt around the fact that I didn't know what in the world I was doing, which I think he noticed, appreciated, and just was like, cool, it's cool. I mean, we're friends anyway. He wouldn't have been weird with me. Like, he was like, yeah, okay. I think he recognised it and was like, I see, that's cool. Yeah, and so we did this sort of like 1.5 days where I was sort of running it and getting used to it, and it was kind of going okay, and you know, I mean, it was working, but I didn't feel comfortable with it yet. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I just, you know, when you're just willing yourself to be comfortable with something, which is ironic because it's completely the reverse of the kind of attitude that you need towards anything to be comfortable. You need to be like chilled and whatever, but I was like, I need to feel relaxed about this, I need to feel confident, and of course that's never going to be the situation, is it? So yeah, I sort of like, we did this 1.5 day rehearsals, I was kind of getting used to it, it was cool, it made sense, blah blah blah, and then we had 1 day of production rehearsals, and we started running the set, and I just remember sort of like every time a song finished, I was so self-aware of being in control of this thing that it was like, one song ended, it was like, okay, go, all right, next song, you know, and just really like, okay, and the song's ended, and okay, go, like, just mentally sort of like, and and then after we did this one run through, the MD sort of like came over to me and he was like, are you cool? And I was like, yeah, I'm just trying to get used to doing this as part of like the set and whatever. He's like, right, let's go have a talk. And I was like, okay, and I was like, oh my God, he hates me, he's gonna fire me, oh, I'm an idiot, like, I'm ruining this, I'm totally just like, ugh. Anyway, and he was like, right, we sat down in like some seats up the top of this venue, and he was like, okay, talk to me. And then I burst into tears. I was like, I just don't feel like I can do it, I'm just doing a rubbish job, and like, I don't know, and I'm gonna ruin it, and it's all a bit much. And he was like, okay, calm, you're doing a great job, just breathe, just relax, you know, between songs, people are going to be clapping, you don't need to do it straight away, it's totally fine if you just relax a bit, because everything else is perfect, everything else is great, playing, great, the actual, you know, you're setting off the tracks is perfect, but if you just relax in between, you'll be alright. And so we ran it again, and I tried to sort of consciously relax, and then he was like, great, so much better, and it's only going to get better. And I was like, okay, cool, thank you. Like, he was so supportive and so sweet and understanding and lovely, just lovely. And of course then I went and did a tour and did that for like however long it was, 3-4 weeks, and by the end of it, I mean, it was just nothing, you know, it was like, yeah, it's just part of what I do. It didn't even enter my mind. I was at the point where if stuff went wrong, I knew how to deal with it and stuff like that, and I was like, no, I can handle this. But again, thrown in at the deep end, like during rehearsals. So it's not like I could have gone away and, right, I'm going to spend 2 weeks researching about what an HD24 is and how to run it and blah, 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 blah. It was like, no, this is happening now. Like, I'm not giving you any time. And as terrifying as that was, it was the best thing for me. I learned so quickly because I had to, and that was just, there was just no option, like zero. So yeah, I think although scary and, you know, ending in tears at some points, I think they can definitely be a beneficial way to learn. Equally, there's so much, so I was thinking about this as well. There's very few times in my life that I've regretted not doing something and not taking up an opportunity or not creating an opportunity. And one of those was to do with being thrown in the deep end, and I got so scared that I ran, but not physically, I didn't physically like run out of the room, but I got called to do this kind of, I guess he's kind of like a jazz funk kind of artist, which is not my domain at all, never has been. But I think, I was thinking about this, I must have been about 18. And the reason that I say that is because it wasn't long after I had a really bad experience doing a recording session, which I'll talk about in a minute, which I've spoken about on other videos. And I think I was so fragile and, I mean, I find most musicians are quite insecure anyway. I certainly am. And I think I was in such an insecure frame of mind that although I felt bad for not taking on that opportunity, I think actually in the long run it may have done me more damage than good, and there was something in me that was saying, don't do it, just don't do it. And I think it's good that I didn't do that, although, like I say, I still kind of regret not doing it. So the guy's name's Shez Raja, great musician, he's around on the London circuit, he's still around, like really cool. Proper, intricate, amazing jazz funk stuff. But again, like I say, it wasn't my domain, but I just thought, well, I can't do that, so I should go do it. And I just remember being in a van with a band, coming back from a gig from Cornwall, very random, very specific. And I'm pretty certain that the audition was like the next day. So that in itself was not ideal, because I think I was getting home at like 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning, and then I was just going to go do this the next afternoon. But I just had to text him and just be like, I'm so sorry, but I'm just not going to be able to do this. And I can't get it out of my head. I have a terrible memory. I forget everything. Like, you wouldn't believe the stuff that I forget. But that I remember so clearly, and I still sort of regret it. But hey, it's got me to this point now. So for whatever reason, it was the right decision. But I wanted to talk about, so in terms of, or in times where being thrown in the deep end hasn't worked, because it doesn't always work. Sometimes you do flounder, basically. And an example of that is, as I say, something that I've already spoken about in other videos. I think I might sneeze. Am I going to sneeze? No. And that is recording. So when I was 17, I got a phone call, or 16, 17, I can't actually remember. My timeline is, sorry about that. It likes to stop itself recording, and I still don't know why. It just won't let me do past like 22 minutes or whatever it is. So yeah, as I say, my timelines are not very good sometimes, and I can't quite remember, but I think I was 16, 17, got a phone call to do a recording session. This is the super short version. I've done a whole video just on this, so if you want to go and see how much I just like completely wallowed and failed and came back from it, go watch that. But basically, long and short of it, went to get to do a recording session, fell apart as soon as they hit record, couldn't rectify it, it was too much, I was thrown in at the deep end, but I wasn't able to doggy paddle, basically, and then breaststroke or backstroke or whatever. And it was horrendous, it was heartbreaking, it's one of the worst feelings in the world that I've ever had, but the point is that at the time, horrendous, and my skill set did not go up, not even slightly. If anything, I felt like at the time I'd completely crumbled down to nothing. I was like a building that had just fallen down, and I didn't know where to even begin to build myself back up. But I did, and from that, although it was catastrophic, well, it felt catastrophic at the time, to be fair, it still feels a little bit like, I mean, I don't like failing, I don't think anyone does, but it was actually the strongest thing that could have happened to me, because what I did from the rubble, I guess, if you want to keep talking in those terms, is that it gave me a chance to literally build up my foundations again. And it was hard, it was so difficult, not just from a physical standpoint. Obviously I was working physically on stuff like working with a click, locking in with other musicians, you know, consistency of sound, feel, all those sorts of things. But not only that, it was the mental side of it. I broke down to nothing. I'd come from a place of being like, not confident or ballsy, but like, I was like, I can do this, you know. I have my moments, everyone does, where you're like, oh gosh, but you're like, on the whole, just go, I can do this. I went down to, I can't do this. And I never felt like that. Like I say, from the first day that I started playing drums, I felt like I could be good at this. And this was the first time ever that I just went, maybe I can't. And that was awful, like I can't even go there, so bad. And yeah, but like I say, although that was like the most catastrophic failure ever, it ended up making me a lot stronger. Like I say, not just physically, but emotionally, and just in terms of realising what I can handle. I could go down to rubble, build myself back up. Yes, it was difficult, and I went from this, I can do this, to nothing, but then I built myself up mentally, like, okay, no, I can do this. All right, yeah, so if I just, all I need to do is work on that. And then, okay, so that bit's a bit stronger. Okay, cool. Maybe I can do this. All right, let me build up this bit that, okay, now that's a bit stronger. Maybe I really can do this. Let me build up this thing. And then it became this realization that even if you're not perfect at all these things, if you work hard enough at them, you will become stronger, and you can do it. It's hard work, and it's tough, and it's horrible facing yourself when you're going, you can't do that. But actually it was really good. And like I say, that was definite deep end stuff, and that was definite, like, not even floundering, that was drowning in that deep end situation. But consequently, like I say, like, I mean, I want to say I was 17, I think I was 17, and that was, giving away my age, 14 years ago. 14 years later, I'm still here, I'm doing it for a living, I'm touring, I'm recording a lot. I have my own studio, for crying out loud. Talk about an oxymoron, going from like completely falling apart red light syndrome to, hi, would you like to record at my studio? So it's, yeah, I think those moments, those deep end moments are sort of the defining moments of either upping your skill tenfold, not instantly, but you know what I mean, in a very short period of time, or not, but then building up from that point and realising how important it is to you. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say on this matter, really. Get yourself in some deep end situations, and although they might be difficult, although you might flounder a bit, on the whole, I reckon if you can step up and be willing to put in the work, but very quickly, and learn very quickly, then you're going to learn like so much quicker than anyone else that has all the time in the world to, you know, learn whatever skill, I guess. It can be music, it can be, you know, like I say, it could be Ableton, QLab. I had to learn QLab really quickly. By the way, great program. I love QLab. I don't think enough people use it. Yeah, same with Logic, same with Pro Tools, all these things. It was just like, right, here's a situation, you need to know this now. And it's like, well, I better learn it now then. Okay, cool, nice one. It was the same with even like editing video. I ended up learning how to edit video because I just needed to put out a video, and I had no one around to sort of like help me edit it. So I was like, oh, I better learn how to edit then. And now I know how to edit. So yeah, deadlines people, they're good. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to stop rambling. It's been a good, well, almost half an hour. But yes, I hope you've gotten something from my rambling on about this. Yeah, get yourself in some deep situations and just see how you handle them. I guarantee you'll surprise yourself. I always surprise myself when even the like, this is going to sound dumb probably, but the Facebook Live thing, terrifying. Speaking to people live, you don't know what people are going to ask. I was like, oh, I feel very vulnerable. But I tell you what, after the very first one, I was like, I quite like this. This is quite fun. And now I love it. It's really cool. It's really so enjoyable to like be able to interact with people. But had I not had that one moment of just like, okay, let me just do this, I wouldn't even know that. I'd just still be scared of this thing, you know, Facebook Live, ooh, live, oh God. Yeah, so I think it's nothing but a good thing. I think, as I say, my kind of rule generally is if my initial reaction to something is fear, that means I should do it, because I'm about to learn some new skill sets in some form or another. But anyway, I'm going to stop rambling on. Hope you guys have had a good weekend. If you've got any questions, let me know. If you want to see old videos, whatever, you can check it out on here, or just go to adrummersguide2.com, come ask me some questions, come to a Facebook Live, just come and say hi, and yeah, I'm not scary, I promise. Anyway, have a good day, you guys, and I will speak to you soon. Alright, see you later. Bye!